I believe that we are live. We are live. We are live. Okay. Perfect. Um I think though, give me just a second, guys. Those of you joining on the live stream, I just gotta make a quick adjustment on the stream. Okay. I think this looks a lot better. All right. Once again, welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to Kixkeya Global Village. And so we have a very interesting topic of discussion that we'll be dealing with here tonight. Let me just fix this mic. Okay, I think we should be okay now. All right, those of you joining us live here tonight, welcome back once again to Kixkeya Global Village. And so don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as you make your way into the live stream. And so this stream here tonight is going to be a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more personal, because as you guys can see, the title, things that I have learned throughout my travels around the world, and the Nairobi edition. Okay, so that's going to be the conversation here tonight as we get this on the way. And so if any of you guys may have any questions, of course, feel free to chime into the conversation, share your thoughts and perspectives, as well as your questions are also welcome. And first and foremost, if you're able to hear the live stream, if you're able to hear me well, just let me know in the comments that you're able to hear the stream. All right, so tonight's conversation, it's like I said before, it's gonna be a bit not necessarily too personal, but of course I'm gonna kind of chime in on my experience, I would say, this past few months as I have been traveling, and more specifically throughout the continent of Africa, and being from the state of Florida and here in the United States. And so I had never been, traveling the world before to the degree that I am doing now. And so even though I've traveled, but more so within the region of the Americas. And so, for the first time this year, I went offshore and venture into other continents, which predominantly the continent of Africa. And so tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you guys things that I have learned throughout my journey. And so given that this is, I would say, a very long distance travel, and even with the timing as well, because like I said before, I had never traveled outside of the States for this length of time, this duration. And so there are certain things that I was not prepared for, or maybe I did not perceive that they were going to happen. And so, but yet they happen, I would say, to my benefit. And so these are some of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you guys throughout my journey, things that I have learned about myself, about people that, of course, around me, as well as the country that I'm actually coming from. And so the influence that, of course, America has on the world. And so the more that I travel and get to meet people, then I get to really understand and comprehend that particular influence, and even how other people perceive and view the United States, and as well as, even the youth and the culture in other countries, how they perceive or view things from the outside looking in, especially things that they may have taken up from watching movies or listening to the music. And I would say they're just following the trends, but not necessarily fully understanding the repercussions of what some of those trends can bring. Like, for example, I'm just gonna start with this. Let's just even start with, just the influence that um, culture here in America has on the rest of the world. And so, especially when it comes to the music, not really traveling around other continent. Like I said before, this is my first time traveling into other continents outside of the Americas. And so I didn't really fully understand the global reach that the culture has on the rest of the world. And so in recent times, I've been able to connect with the youth, and sometimes I don't really see much of a difference because they watch the same thing we watch. I remember in recent times I met some people, they were telling me about episodes of Bart Simpsons that they have been watching, or Family Guy, or some of the superhero movies or cartoons that we grew up watching here in the States. And when I'm having conversation, people are like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm into anime. I watch The Simpsons and Family Guy and all of these things. Like, growing up, as a child growing up, I mean, you think that, okay, it's only your friends in elementary school where you grew up that are watching these things, or even, of course, other youth in America that are watching these cartoons or animes. But the reality is, even people all around the world, the youth around the world, they're watching the same thing. And that was like a big culture shock to me, because you think, okay, well, everything is like national, or it's just on a local level, not realizing, like, no, this is global. And so that was definitely a quantum leap of understanding that I came to. And that allows me to view the youth in other countries differently, because you realize there's a different level of really, I don't know if the word that I'm going to use is the correct word, but like, they're relatable. You know what I mean? The different level of them being able to relate and experiences, because they see some of the same things I see, and listen to some of the same musics that I grew up listening to, watching the same movies. And so, like, for example, back in the days, if we wanted to listen to some music or watch certain movies, there were websites we will go and download those movies. Like, even Hollywood movies, you will download it and you will watch. Here, like, they have some of those same websites and apps where they go and download, like, movies. And I mean, the recent movies that are coming out, everybody's watching it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to the influence and culture, I feel like there is a level of relatability between the youth growing up in the States and other youth in different countries, just because the internet brings people together. It bridges that gap. And so when you get to travel, there's not, depending on the country though, not every country. Some countries are very conservative, but they may not necessarily allow the American influence of maybe music or movies. But for the most part, a lot of places you go, I mean, you start talking, people are like, oh yeah, 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 I know about this, or I listen to this music. And so that was definitely a shocker for me. Um, the second thing I would say is politically, how invested a lot of people are in American politics, even more invested than some Americans living in America. Like, like for example, okay, so I call this like the Nairobi edition, right? So I've met some youth over here, maybe in their early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, and even older people. Like they're asking me, hey, who are you going to be voting for? They're asking me, like, who am I going to be voting for? Am I voting for Trump or am I voting for Kamala? And I'm asking them, like, what do you think about the politics in America? Let me hear from you. And they're going into details. That was definitely a shocker for me. Like, people, they're watching closely. They know about the policies that Kamala Harris has set in motion. They know about the policies that Donald Trump is setting in motion. And if I would talk to some people in the States, they will be clueless. Like, all they know is that they're just gonna be voting, but they don't really go and they don't really know like the ramifications as to what they're voting or the person that they're voting in, the purpose of their mission. You know what I mean? A lot of people just go to the voting booth and just vote. But outside of the US, I was definitely surprised as to the level of investment that a lot of people are invested in politics going on in America, and their opinions about it, and the level of details that people actually go into when it comes to the politics. You know what I mean? So that was definitely a shocker for me when it comes to that. But then again, like I said before, it's just, you know, just social media being able to bring people together, bridging that gap. And so to me, like I said, it was definitely a learning experience, because you don't really, you don't, when you live in the States, you don't really see what is going on outside, in a sense that if you're not living in those countries, like if you didn't travel to Senegal, if you didn't travel to Gambia, if you didn't travel to Egypt, if you didn't travel to Kenya, if you didn't travel to some other countries and be there, you would not fully grasp the level of influence that America has on those places, or even the level of investment that people in those countries, how they're invested in the politics and the culture going on in the States. You would not know unless you're actually there. And so that was a shocker for me, because I'm like, wow, like you really take this to the heart, to the point where, you know, like a lot of people do feel like whoever is in power, okay, when it comes to the voting, has an influence even on them in their own countries. You know what I mean? So they're really invested into, you know, what is happening. And so those are some of the things that I've learned, you know, throughout my travels. And so definitely as you get to travel too, because um, and that's going into my next point. When it comes to Kixkeya Global Village YouTube, even myself, when I began to do traveling content, I didn't I didn't fully grasp and understand like the level of influence that this channel would even have with other people. And so in recent times, I've had people from the States that are planning to travel to different countries, like either it be Senegal or maybe the Gambia, or, you know, even here in Kenya. by virtue of them watching Kixkeya Global Village, like they're able to see like from a from a different perspective, because of course I'm from where they are, and they're able to see my experience, and they're able to relate to a certain degree as to the decision that they're about to make, maybe to travel to Senegal, or to, travel to Gambia, or um, Egypt, or even Kenya, what have you. So when I first embarked upon this journey, I didn't really have it in my mind that, people was going to be watching this channel as a viable means or credible means into some of the opinions that they will formulate of a specific country based on my experiences. And so, where, I've had people reach out to me, even from as far as Martinique in the Caribbean, or France, like different countries out of Europe, the Caribbean, of course, people in the US. And so that just makes me desire to be even more intentional about the content that I'm actually putting out. Just being able to put out meaningful content, impactful content that can be a blessing to people, even as they come to their decisions and to traveling. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And like I said, right now, this channel, as we speak, we're growing, slowly but surely. We're growing into the identity of, what we are becoming, or whom we are becoming as a channel. And so I definitely encourage you guys to subscribe if you just watching this video for the first time, or maybe if you just a return subscriber, feel free to like the video and just share with other people as well. And so this journey has definitely been like a learning experience for me, like at a quantum level. And so, yeah, the next principle that I want to tackle in this video, when it comes to the things that I have learned throughout my travels, is you will learn more about the people around you. And what I mean by that, like when you around people all of your life, and let's say you never leave, you just been around them, it's a different vibe than when you actually leave, and not just leave, but for an extended period of time. You get to learn more about those people around you as to how they perceive you, or their thoughts, or maybe how they're able to relate to you. And so one thing that I have learned throughout my time traveling is that there are certain relationships that you have, um, they're going to grow even stronger. And there are certain relationships that you have, they're going to become very distant and next to non-existent. And there are certain relationships that's just maybe going to be more like maybe on and off. And so that was one of the biggest, I would say, one of the biggest learning curves for me, because there are certain dynamics or certain relationships that I've had I didn't really have like an understanding of until, traveling for a long period of time, where you thought, okay, well, maybe I thought this was solid. You know what I mean? And when I'm talking about relationship, I'm speaking in general. It could be relationship between you and a cousin, relationship between yourself and a brother, a sister, uncle, or a friend, or a neighbor, or whomever. And so when you choose or make a decision to travel for an extended period of time, then a lot of the relationships that you have built or may thought that you have built will be put to the test. And it's on both sides, because then, because you don't have the closeness, then you would have to make a practical effort to be able to build those relationships. And those individuals on the other end also will have to make a practical effort to strengthen the bond or strengthen the connection. And so those relationships will be put to the test, and they will be found to be either flaw or maybe something that was just there for the temporary. And I'm definitely appreciative of the fact that I had been traveling for these past I would say 10 months. And so I'm happy for the experiences, because I definitely have had some relationships that have grown to great lengths because of the distance, and it creates for even a stronger foundation, for longevity. And one of the other aspect also is that I've had people that maybe while I was there, that we didn't really connect like that, but the moment that I'm no longer there, you see that people have made the effort to actually reach out, to connect, to communicate. Or those that I may have actually lost connection with, where I'm receiving emails from people that I may have not spoken to maybe for a very long time. And so those are some of the things that you're going to learn, is that you just have to be willing to accept the unexpected. You know what I mean? Expect the unexpected. And so had I not been on this journey, I would not come to the discovery about myself and about others. And a lot of things would not have been tested to the degree that they are. And so if you're someone that maybe you or your family right now, but maybe soon you will be traveling, and it could be it doesn't even have to be across the continent. It could just be from state line to state line, or from city to city. And so those are some of the things that you will actually eventually come to the understanding of. And sometimes, people worry about their relationships, how it's going to pan out. But I think that when something was meant to be, it will definitely be established. Okay, I'm frozen. Okay, you may have to check your connection, because I think we are good here on this side. Yeah. I think you may have to check your connection if you see that the live stream is frozen, because we are good on this side here. All right. So yeah, so those of you that are watching, once again, if you have any questions, feel free to share your thoughts on the live stream. If you just coming in, don't forget to hit the like button of the stream. And so this was not designed to be a super long live stream. And so I wanted to come on here and just share my experiences throughout my traveling throughout these past few months. And so, like I said, one of the biggest things that you will learn is the meaning of certain connections, relationships that you may have had, and you will get to see um, the true impact of those relationships. And so, when it comes to traveling, I think that's one of the biggest things. As far as traveling for an extended period of time, either it be close or far. And I think the farther you travel, the greater the tests that you would have to overcome. And you also learn things about yourself because, I mean, imagine traveling to a country that you had never been and don't have, I would say, family and those places. And so being able to just choose to travel and develop connections, develop relationships, and that speaks to volume as to the character of the individual that you are. And this is why I would say, traveling is not for everyone, especially long term, because you will definitely have to develop tough skin and have a keen desire to understand people and connect with people. And it takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy to be able to do that. And so, but then again, it also expands your mind because you get to learn more about others, different cultures, learning from different perspectives, learning a new language. And even for me, in recent times, I had, when I was in West Africa, I was learning Wolof. And even now on the east side here, I'm learning Swahili and learning to hear. Before, when I first came into on this side, I mean, I could not hear anything. But now I'm able to, pick up on a few things in Swahili, especially when it comes to the food. And so you learn about the culture, the food, and the greetings. And so I'm able to connect and greet people, communicate with people, learn how, people think, and so on and so forth. And so overall, if I would say this, if someone have the ability to travel and to experience new things, I definitely encourage you to do that if you have the means and the ability to do it. And so, but regardless, no matter where you are, one thing I learned about growth and success is that you need a team, you need a network in order to grow, in order to succeed. And so, and and that's why I made mention of the impact of relationships whenever you travel, because one thing you will learn is that you will learn who is on your side, and you will also learn whose side that you're on, because it's a double edge. And so, but I would say, when you have people on your corner, even across the continent, like, it just makes life so, it gives life so much meaning to know that you can be so far, yet the love and the belief that others may have in you, or that you may have in others, does not fade based on the distance. And so it just makes the journey even a lot better. And so, and also, when you come into, for example, a new place or a new community, being able to develop and make those connections, and seeing how people respond and how people can relate to you, it just makes the journey great. And so there's just something about the human connection, establishing and building communities, networking, that is so refreshing. And so yeah, you and also I think you will learn what is important to you as an individual. And that's why you can have, for example, 1,000 people travel to the same place. They all will come, many, or I would say, will come with different conclusions, because to all of us, we all have different desires as to what it is that we're looking for, what it is that we're seeking to bring to life. And so, while, for example, this may not be the only video, of course it is not the only video that has Nairobi, Kenya on the title. You can have like different channels that talks about their experiences in Nairobi, Kenya, or that talks about their experiences traveling the world. But yet each and every one of them may take on something different, while they may have some similarities. And so that's the thing. And I think for many of you, having your own experiences is always great, even though you may, watch others. Some people you can relate to, but when you have your own experience, you will know the meaning as to what it is that you're looking for. What is it that you're searching when it comes to traveling? And so for me, over the years, I had been, studying and reading on so many different levels, from history to religion. And in recent times, when I had went to Egypt, of course, in the past, I had learned about Egypt. I had read about Egypt. I mean, like so many books have been written, either it be from the Bible to history and the pyramids and the different dynasties and so on and so forth. And when I got a chance to actually go to Cairo and go to the museums, it was like almost like nothing that I had read. Being able to witness in real time, you know what I mean? It's such a profound experience, and it just gives depth. It adds life to the journey, to the experience. Being able to capture the moments, it's very educational. And no matter how many books maybe you may have read on the different dynasties of the pharaohs, or different dynasties within the Egyptian history, but going into those places and seeing it for yourself, witnessing, looking with your own eyes, the mummies, like the bodies of those of the ancient, how they preserve those bodies. I mean, I saw it in books. I saw the different mummies in books, but I was able to see it for my own self with my own eyes. And so being able to witness that, but also sharing those stories, it's like, wow, it's amazing. It's like a surreal moment. You know what I mean? I remember like learning about different cultures of the Western Africas, reading about it, but being able to, like, in real time, just witnessing it, like being immersed in it. It's almost like what you had read becomes irrelevant almost, because you in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the moment. I remember a few years ago, I had some friends living in the States, they were learning Swahili. You know, at that time, I didn't really know what Swahili was. I didn't know, excuse me, I didn't even know what nation or people spoke Swahili. All I know is I had some friends in the States that were learning Swahili. But then when I came into Kenya, it's almost like, okay, Swahili becomes important to me because now, like, I'm there. But before, I had some friends who were learning about it. I'm like, okay, it almost like it was like a white noise. Oh yeah, I'm learning Swahili. Oh yeah, yeah, you learning it. But that was when I was living in the States. You know what I mean? But the moment that I'm like in Kenya, then okay, Swahili becomes so important. Yeah, I have to learn it. The education becomes practical. It becomes applicable. It becomes like digestible in real time. And so that's one of the things, like, sometimes you may not have like interest in something, but the moment where you put in a position, that thing becomes important, and your desire for it is like on a different level. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things that I've learned about myself, is that just because something may not be important to you at the moment, that doesn't mean that it will never become like important at some point in time. And so that's why it's always good to live in the present, in the sense that having a purpose and living in that purpose in the present time is greater than trying to trying to make for something that is not applicable in the present. And so yeah, so that's one of the things that I've learned, is that everything will come to life at in the proper time. And so there is a time and a place for everything. And so living in the moment, living in the present is definitely important. And so no matter where you are, and that's why for me, even before I started traveling on the continent of Africa or maybe outside of the States, I used to travel from different states working and um, doing different things. And either maybe when I was in Georgia, when I was in South Carolina, wherever I traveled to, either it be Washington State or Minnesota, wherever it is that I traveled, like, I try to live in the present, like cherish those moments, because I cannot be, for example, living in Florida, but my brain is like, man, I wish I was in Mexico. No, Mexico will come if that time is, but cherish the moment that where you at right now. Okay, like, enjoy Florida as much as you can, and when you move on, you will move on, but you will embrace the fact that you capitalize on those opportunities to make something happen. And that is what I have learned throughout my travels, is that, you know not everything is eternal. Many things are definitely temporary, but the moment that you are in it, like, enjoy it, because you don't know how long it's going to last. And so, but also, like I said, going back from the beginning, being far will definitely test your connections with people and their connection to you and how you relate to one another. And so you will see that some relationships will grow even stronger, while others will just fade away. But the bottom line remains is that that's life. In life, that's what happens. And so you have to be intentional. Everyone must be intentional and making those connections last, making those communications last by creating the times. And so yeah, the other thing that also I have learned is that there's opportunities everywhere. You know, sometimes, like for example, when I was in Senegal, a lot of young brothers, when they find out, oh, I was from the States, they always tell me their goal, their desire is to actually move to America. And many of them, like that's their goal. They will say, oh, this country where they are, it's so bad, it's so terrible. They will tell me all the terrible things about Senegal, or all the terrible things about the Gambia, all the terrible things about Egypt. Oh man, Egypt, man, the money is very cheap, and like they want to go and be in a place where they can make more money. They will tell me all these things, how terrible the place where they're living is, and how America is just this place where they envision themselves living large and living happily ever after. And I would tell them, hey man, listen, like you got to see the benefits of where you are. Like it's a beautiful country. How do I know that? Because I'm not from there, and coming in, I see it from a different perspective that they see it. You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes, you have to embrace wherever you are, and because that's where you are, you have to embrace it and make the best of it. And so what I'm saying is that there's no such thing as the grass is greener on the other side. You know what I mean? There are challenges in Africa, no matter what the country is. There are challenges in the Americas, no matter what the country is. There are challenges in Europe. And so sometimes I think when people travel to other places, they try to make they try to create like this fantasy to make people believe that wherever they are now is better than where they came from. While to some degree that may be true, that is not all true, because at the end of the day, that's why you don't see me make videos bashing the US, because I'm not one of those individuals who will say, oh, America is so terrible, you need to leave and go to Japan, or you need to leave and maybe go to Italy or something to that effect. Because at the end of the day, even when you get to Japan, even when you get to Italy, you're going to experience things that will make you want to come back to America. Because you're like, man, while this country may have those benefits, they don't have this. And so that's why for you as an individual, you have to know your purpose at the end of the day. What is it that you are called to accomplish? What is it that you are destined to be, based on your daily choices, based on your daily aspirations, based on your endeavors, and you make that happen no matter where you are. And so there's no such thing as the grass is greener. Just be present, enjoy your experiences wherever you're at. And when you do that, life becomes so much more meaningful, because you don't feel like you're missing out on something. You know what I mean? And sometimes, people will come and travel, for example, to different countries and say, oh, hey, listen, man, in Brazil, the Brazilian women are better than the women in America. Or the women in the Philippines, they're a lot more submissive. You know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, that is not all true. You know what I mean? Because people are people no matter where you are. You're gonna experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. You just have to know what is your purpose in those experiences and how to choose the good, how to know the good, how to discern the good, and live with that. You know what I mean? And so that's why, like, I don't put myself in the category of passport bros, because, for example, you see on the internet, a lot of guys, they will definitely bash, women living in America and make you believe that these are the people on that side or wherever are better, but that is not always the truth. You know what I mean? It's just based on some brothers' experiences. And so you have to know how to make life worthwhile no matter where you are. And so that is the bottom line when it comes to that. But maybe I can have a whole nother discussion just on that topic. But at any rate, listen, I'm actually going to cut the live stream very, very soon. Right about now, it's 1 a.m. 1 a.m. in the morning here in Kenya. So this is a very late live for me, I would say. And so, but nonetheless, it's great. I'm just grateful to be able to come on live and share my experiences with you guys. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are there any questions? Are there any questions and on what I've been sharing thus far? But yeah, so continue to support the channel. All right, continue to share the videos. And so if there are no questions, I'm going to wrap it up here tonight. But once again, guys, these are some of the things that I have learned throughout my journey, throughout my travels. If you have any questions, feel free to chime in the conversation. Maybe you're someone that have also traveled before. Maybe you can share the things that you have learned throughout your traveling experiences. Or maybe you have an inspiration to travel. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to? And feel free to share those things in the comments in the chat room. And so, yeah. All right. So Kixkeya Global Village, guys, we are definitely growing. The channel is growing throughout the days. So I definitely thank you guys for your support, for watching and supporting. All right, that being said, we are wrapping up. Thank you once again for joining in. And so this is another live stream, Nairobi edition. And so I hope that, you learned something here tonight as we continue to share our experiences. So we're going to have more videos coming up soon. Like I said, I want to make meaningful content that you can actually grow and learn from. And so let's continue to grow together. And hopefully, this channel will be a means of positive influence in your life as we continue to make positive impact in the communities, no matter where we go. All right. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Peace out.